This is the Carl Miller Show, where we talk about all things real estate, financial investments, and getting into a home you love. With over 15 years of experience, this is your host, Carl Miller.
Keeping your garden thriving this summer. We're going to meet with Gary Gardner III from Gary's Garden Center and what most veterans don't know about their VA home loan benefit. Hey, thank you for tuning in. I'm Carl, your host, the principal broker at Carl Miller Realty. We're Lynchburg's first certified full-service professional brokerage, and we're located at 7700 Timberlake Road in Lynchburg. We are your caring, competent, trusted advisors for real estate sales and service. If you are a homeowner or an aspiring homeowner, this show is created for you. Welcome to the program. I'm in a network, also the best realtors in the United States and Canada who operate with skill and with a relational approach to meeting your needs. So whether relocating to or from Central Virginia, maybe you've inherited a house outside of Lynchburg and you don't know who to call, we've got you. We got an open house going on this weekend I want to invite you out to, and this is down in Rustburg. We've got two houses open. These are brand new construction homes. They're located at 282 Pebble Road and 1969 Bear Creek Road. Stop by and check those out. They are staged, brand new construction homes, and you won't be disappointed by what you see there. These homes range in price in the upper fours to the low fives, but check it out. Again, 282 Pebble Road and 1969 Bear Creek Road, and this is going to be Sunday, the 31st of May from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and Courtney Shaper and Lauren Dollyheight will be your hosts there. Well, I want to thank our sponsor, Gary's Garden Center. Gary's in the studio with us today, but spring, it's in full bloom, and Gary's Garden Center is ready to help you create your own slice of paradise this summer. You've got lots of options, and we're going to dig into this in just a second, but whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, Gary's Garden Center has everything you need to bloom and grow. For a great selection and private expert advice and friendly service, visit Gary's Garden Center. They're located at 794 Leesville Road. Their website is garysgardencenter.com. But check them out right now this weekend. Go there now.
It's time for a new featured listing from Carl Miller Realty.
All right, we got a new townhouse listing that is in Forest. This is located at 1260 Blue Ridge View Circle. It's a 1,200 square foot house, and it's in the Ashwood community. It is priced at just $214,900. This is a well-maintained, move-in ready townhouse. It's within walking distance of shops and restaurants. It's got freshly painted and painted walls, and it has been professionally cleaned. The Ashwood community, it's got beautifully maintained just grounds, and there's a community dog park inside the house, and dog park, not inside the house, but there is a dog park in this community. Inside the house, you've got a functional layout, tile floors in the kitchens and bathrooms, newer carpet upstairs, there's stainless steel appliances and a storage shed. This is a good location. It's in the JF district, and you can schedule your showing today by going to carlmillerrealty.com and just ask for Shane Timberlake. It's a great house, listed again for $214,900. Well, we want to introduce Gary Gardner III back in the studio. They've been our sponsor for the last 3 months, and Gary's with us today. Welcome to the studio, Gary.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Man, so it is, the weather has turned. We went from a rainy Memorial Day weekend, all weekend long. My goodness, it was so good to see the rain. It's been really dry, to now some heat. Feels like summer out there this week again in South Central Virginia.
Yeah, it does. We went from being extremely dry, very up and down, back and forth weather, and now finally got some much needed rain.
It was good to see the grass just greening up this week. And well, I want to talk a little bit about what you offer to the homes, the gardens, the yards of South Central Virginia. You've been established for, how many years has Gary's Garden Center been in business now, Gary? It's been a long time.
We've been around for 47 years. We started out as the lawn care landscaping, then got into the retail side of things in the early to mid-90s.
And you've been on this show before. Your grandfather started the business, is that correct?
Right, my dad and granddad kind of together.
Okay.
Technically, it was actually more my dad that started the lawn care business, but both of them together.
I love it. So third generation now. That's fantastic. All right, let's talk a little bit about popular plants and flowers that you have in stock right now for summertime. What do you got going on at Gary's?
Yeah, we've got a lot of things that are very heat, drought tolerant plants. Things like vinca, the summer annual vinca, the summer annual lantana.
Okay.
Both of those very heat, drought tolerant. And there's something that deer tend to leave alone. I don't promise anything these days.
Yeah.
But they're two things that I'm fairly comfortable telling people that deer will actually leave those alone.
Interesting. So.
And then we've got a really good selection of like butterfly bushes in stock right now. A lot of those in bloom. And then we will continue to be bringing stuff in, even though we're past the peak busy spring season. We may not have quite the selection of all the different colors and varieties, but we'll continue to bring stuff in.
Yeah.
June is actually National Perennial Month.
Yeah.
We'll continue to have a pretty good selection of the perennials on into the early summer.
Let's talk about care for plants in the heat of Central Virginia in the summertime. We have this red clay soil pretty much throughout this whole area. And we've had some really hot weather, and we talked about how it was just so dry before last weekend, Memorial Day. But how much and how often should people be watering their plants and lawns?
Yeah, that's probably the most frequently asked question and the hardest question to answer. But in general, for something planted in the ground, a less frequent but deeper watering will do better.
Okay.
For pots and containers in the heat of the summer, if it's a pot or container in full sun, you're probably going to want to water that pretty much every day.
Okay.
If it's a shadier spot, you might be able to get by with every other to every third day. But back on stuff planted in the ground, they were saying slow soaking, deep watering, less frequent will do better than going out there every day and dumping a watering can on it.
Yeah.
Most of that, if you do that, most of that water runs off.
Right.
What I tell people for a newly planted tree or shrub, obviously it's going to vary some depending on the size of it, but to turn your hose on just a drip, 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 lay it right up touching the trunk or the base of the plant, leave it there for 2.5, 3 hours like that. You will end up using about the same amount of water as if you just dumped a couple watering cans on it, but all that water will soak in. And that's really what you're going for on newly planted trees or shrubs, is to soak that root ball down to the bottom.
That's fascinating. It's the first time I've heard that, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And the other trick, a lot of people are like, well, it's not practical for me to be there and turn it on and off and all that, or I can't even get a hose the way I've got it planted. Take a 5-gallon bucket and then not in the very underneath the bottom, but in the side, kind of at the very bottom, either drill or poke or nail, whatever, or just a small hole in it.
Sure.
Fill that bucket up with water, set it right up as close as you can get it to the plant, and let that bucket just slowly ooze out, and that'll do the same thing as using the hose.
Gary, that's a great tip. Just life hacks for plants here on the Carl Miller Show here today. We're speaking with Gary Gardner III. He's involved very much as an owner and as a sales rep and as a voice of expertise at Gary's Garden Center, and they're located on Leesville Road, right at the intersection of Greenview Drive and Leesville Road. Is it possible to overwater plants and flowers in the summer months? Is that, I guess it depends by plant, but is that a possibility? Can you overwater?
It's definitely possible, and surprisingly, that's probably one of the most common mistakes people make.
Interesting.
Is overwatering.
Okay.
It's certainly not as easy to do that during the summer months.
Yeah.
But one of the most common things is if the pot that people have their plants in don't have a drain hole.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can be, even though it might be scorching hot and drying everything out, if there's no drain hole, nowhere for the water to run, and you're just watering it every day, that water will back up in there. So it is possible. And I will say that, especially stuff planted in the ground, people tend to overwater. A vegetable garden, my dad, myself, we might water a couple of times right after we initially plant some of our stuff. We might water it if it's just really hot, dry. The other week when we had those 90-degree days, I went home. A few of my tomato plants were totally laid over flat on the ground.
Yeah.
And so I did give them a drink of water, but they were ones that I had just planted a few days prior.
Sure.
And but in general, unless we get just extremely dry, most stuff planted in the ground isn't really going to need a whole lot of water. And back to what we were talking about earlier, stuff in the ground, whether it's flowers, whether it's a big tree, less frequent but deeper water will do better.
No, that makes so much sense. And what are some of your, just as a guy that's in the business, what are some of your favorite heat and drought tolerant, I should say, flowers for the Central Virginia gardens?
I would have to go with Vinca.
Okay.
The summer annual Vinca. It's a lot of colors in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are doing a red, white, and blue theme this year.
Yeah.
For America's 250th birthday.
Sure.
The Vinca comes in red and white. The blue isn't really a true blue. It's actually a variety called blueberry, but to me it's more of a purplish blue.
Okay.
But that's what I've used in my own pot for the blue.
Yeah.
I've got red, white, and blue Vinca.
Okay.
So I would say Vinca would probably be my favorite of just a summer, good, hardy, tough summer type flower.
That's cool. Hey, what plants, are there certain plants that you recommend to kind of attract pollinators or butterflies, hummingbirds, those types of things? Are there plants you recommend this time of the year for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different perennial flowers. Your bee balm, your Tixie, coreopsis, even like the lantana. I think I mentioned that earlier as a heat and drought tolerant. But the lantana is very popular with hummingbirds, butterflies, bees, all that kind of stuff. Lavender. That's a popular one for the pollinators.
Sure.
So yeah, there's a lot of different things that will work for the pollinators.
That's pretty cool. And then one more question for someone that's just looking up to freshen up their yard right now. What's a simple way just to make an impact with plants and flowers?
A simple way to make an impact. I would say more of a large pot of flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Just makes a quick show. I'm sure like that initial first impression.
Yeah.
To put two, like whether it's large geraniums, sun patience, Koyas, whatever, just two larger pots of something right there by the front door, by the sidewalk, wherever.
Sure.
That just gives you the instant pop of color. And that would probably be what I would say would be the quickest way to just make a quick impact.
Yeah.
Hanging baskets work too.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got a place for those.
So I guess if somebody wants to just get some ideas, they can take a couple pictures of the outside of their house, bring them over to you, and you could look at those and say, hey, and you would. What I love about working with people like you, Gary, is you're so good at what you do. You're so expert. You're so it just comes natural to you. And for guys like me, I don't see it, so I just love chatting with you and hearing what little tips, little tricks, things you can do as a homeowner to make your house just pop with.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. We love, especially as you slow down a little more and we've got the time to talk and work with people. We enjoy helping them kind of figure out what to do, what to put where, all that kind of stuff.
Well, Gary Gardner III, thank you so much for coming in today. Anything else you want to leave us with as we sign off on this first half?
I don't know of a whole lot else to add, but definitely keep up with us on social media. The email newsletter, you can sign up for that on our website as well as through the Facebook page. There's a link to that.
Super.
That's a great way to continue to stay up to date, get a lot of tips. That goes out the first Thursday of every month.
That's great. So GarysGardenCenter.com is your website.
Yes.
And then social media, just at Gary's Garden Center. Or just Google that in, type that in, you'll find you. And
there's a lot of information on the website too. We've got a lot of blogs and stuff that you can go back through and look on there.
And if you're out and about driving right now and you want to stop by and see Gary, you're open on Saturdays. You're open until when on Saturdays? What's
this
your
time
hours?
of year, we're still open 8 to 5 on Saturdays.
Okay.
Here in a few weeks, as it warms up and things slow down a little more, we'll probably cut back to 3 on Fridays. Saturdays. 8 to 3 on Saturdays, and we'll probably keep the week hours still 8 to 5.
8 to 5.
But cut back a little bit on the weekend.
Sounds good. Gary, thank you so much for sponsoring the Carl Miller Show. Thank you for coming in and just sharing of your expertise and bringing all these tips for free. We're so grateful and so appreciate it. We wish you all the best as we get into the hot months of the summer.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to talk about what most veterans may not know about their VA home loan benefit. Welcome back to the Carl Miller Show. I'm Carl, your host. I'm the principal broker at Carl Miller Realty. Follow our social pages. Sierra, she's our creative director. She continues to put out fun, engaging content. And our social handles on Instagram and Facebook and now YouTube are at Carl Miller Realty. Follow us there. You'll probably learn something and you'll get the opportunity to interact with us. Maybe there's a real estate question you want answered or a topic you'd like to hear about. Hey, engage with us. I'd love to get your question on the air.
It's time for Carl Miller Realty's local stat of the week.
Let's talk about new construction. New construction homes represent 22% of the single-family houses for sale in the greater Lynchburg market today. If we look at the condos and townhomes, 37% of those available houses are brand new. Townhomes and condos, they're a little closer in price to the resale market, just 9% higher over the median list price of a resale. The single-family homes, they have a 17% higher median listing price than the resale market. So those are a couple of fun statistics. You know, what's interesting to me is there's just much more new construction by percentage on the market than is typical. It seems like the builders are kind of catching up, and there's just a lot out there. And of course, the new construction typically is much more expensive than the resale, but the townhouse and condos, you know, it's just 9% higher, just over $300,000 for a resale, for a new construction townhouse or condo, and just under that for a resale market unit. So pretty interesting. Well, let's talk about VA veterans. There's the VA home loan benefit. It's one of the major perks of being a veteran, and nearly half of veterans, 49%, still feel like home ownership is currently out of reach, according to a recent survey from New Day USA. Now, these would obviously be veterans who are tenants today, but many are closer than they think. And if you're a veteran or have a family member or friend who's a veteran who's currently renting, good chance they are closer to owning a home than they may realize too. And if you're in that world, you probably know about the Veterans Affairs, the VA home loan benefit. That has existed for over 80 years. But what may not be known is what it actually covers. So there's three misconceptions that trip up veterans the most. And this is the three benefits that a lot of veterans just aren't aware of. And 68% of veterans aren't aware that they might be able to buy a home with zero down payment. So one of the great benefits of being a veteran is that the home loan benefits that are out here are just incredible. And another large percentage of veterans don't know, 77% actually don't know, that private mortgage insurance, or PMI, isn't required on VA loans, with very few exceptions. So PMI is an additional fee that you pay if you're a buyer and you put less than 20% down. It's called private mortgage insurance. The FDIC will insure loans for the first 80% of equity. And if you're taking out a loan with more than 80% down payment, in other words, loan to value, the loan value is more than 80%. So, for example, if you're putting 5% down, the FDIC will insure the first 80%, but that top 15% you're paying for as the buyer of that loan. As the borrower, you're paying what's called private mortgage insurance. It's an extra fee on your mortgage payment. Depending how your loan is structured, it could fall off after a number of years, or when your house hits 80% of value or 78% of value to that loan. But VA loans, there's no PMI.
Which is really nice.
It's very nice. And it would save a typical home buyer, I mean, I would say as little as $90 a month, but it could be as much as $160 a month, by not having that PMI payment. It depends on the purchase price of the house.
I remember looking when I was, they give you the whole sheet, and it's like, here's every single payment you will ever make. And then all of a sudden going, wait a minute, right here, out of nowhere, it drops down by, like you said, like $100 or something like that. And they're like, well, yeah, that's when your private mortgage insurance drops off.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another pretty major benefit, and that is this. The basic allowance for housing. So if you're in the service now and you get a housing allowance, that can count as income and can be utilized in the debt-income ratios for purchasing a house. And 58% of veterans are not aware of that. So we've got three pretty major points that veterans may not realize they can take advantage of. One of them is their basic housing allowance. What's called their BAH, Basic Allowance for Housing, can count as income. Number two is that their private mortgage insurance, it usually is not required. 77% of veterans don't realize that. And almost 70%, 68% aren't aware that you can buy a home using the VA benefit with zero money down. So let's just talk about these a little bit. And that is this. I mean, the potential to put zero money down, that's probably the biggest perk of the VA loan. According, again, to New Day USA, many respondents guessed that they would need to save somewhere between $10,000 and $19,900 before they could buy a home. And that's typically a years of saving or even more for an upfront cost, but that's just not required if you're a veteran. The other advantage of using the VA is that there's limits on the type of closing costs that buyers have to pay, and the closing costs can be less than other loan types. So that means more money stays in your pocket on closing day. So I know, for example, many brokerages charge a admin fee or a kind of a transaction coordination fee, for example. But I do know that VA loans do not allow that. There's been some laws that may change that, just with some of the lawsuit and the commission structures that happened, a year and a half ago. But as typically, they just don't allow some of those extra fees to be shown on a settlement statement to a veteran.
And that was something that, and granted, I'm not a veteran, so why would I know that? But that's news to me. I think that's very interesting.
Right. VAs, again, like we talked about, don't require private mortgage insurance, PMI, even if you put no money down. And again, I said maybe somewhere between 90 and 160. Actually, I'm wrong on that. If you do a conventional loan, especially if you're buying like a $600,000 house, that PMI could get as high as $300 a month until you hit that 20% equity, because the PMI rate has also gone up over the last few years. So your BAH, that's your basic allowance for housing, can help you qualify for more. Another allowance that's given by the military is basic allowance for subsistence, or BAS. That can count towards your income as well. So if you're running the numbers without factoring your BAH or BAS, you could qualify for more house than you may have thought. Both of those allowances, they're non-taxable, so they can help raise the amount that you qualify for as a veteran. So it's some really cool programs out here for veterans.
And I'm assuming that BAH is given to veterans who are living like maybe off base.
Yeah. This would be active duty.
Yeah.
Or qualifying reservists. So some qualifying reservists are also getting this housing allowance, depending which branch you're in and what your status is. So you would know if you're in that world, if it's your listing and you're a veteran, or you're active duty, or you have, again, a family member, a friend who is. It's something worth knowing. There is, I would also say, one of the common mistakes I see sometimes for people that are no longer active is getting your eligibility certificate. One of the things that you do need is to have a current certificate of eligibility, it's called. And I'm not a veteran either, so I'm not sure what the process is, but I've got a lot of veteran clients that have utilized VA loans. It's a pretty simple process. You have to go on and register, and then basically you can get that qualification certificate pretty quickly.
And yeah, I'm assuming that most of this is active, people in active duty.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Maybe people who are not active duty or retired still probably have most of these benefits.
Absolutely. Yeah, they do. They qualify. Yeah. So, I mean, the majority of our clients that we work with here in Lynchburg, because we're not a active base. Different story if you're in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, if you're in San Diego, different story, of course. But, most of the clients that we work with that are veterans are, retired or were active in the past, but they're not now. But, even with just serving 2 years, you're a veteran and you qualify for these loan programs. And again, you have to get your certificate of eligibility. It's pretty simple to do. And what I love about, and I always tell people, let's compare both. Let's look at the conventional loan, especially because sometimes we have people that have a large down payment, right? So let's look at the conventional loans, run the numbers, then let's look at the VA eligibility, and let's run the numbers that way. And so I think another myth that's out there, and I've actually kind of heard this perpetuated a little bit by our friend Dave Ramsey, is the myth is that VA loans are only for people who can't afford a house or are just on the bubble edge. And that's just not true. Because we've had some veterans that put a large amount of money down and still utilize the VA loan. And we ran the numbers both ways, because with the closing costs and the total benefit to the loan, it made more sense for them to utilize the VA than to go the conventional. Because sometimes the interest rates are also lower too.
Yeah,
not always, but sometimes.
And I mean, maybe I'm naive, but I would assume my thought would be that look, if it's there to use it, I mean, you earned it by doing service for your country. If it's there, why not use it?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So I would just say this. If you're a veteran, you got a family member or friend who is, and they're renting, it's worth. And again, if they know, again, I would say this: if you're planning on moving in a year, don't buy a house. But if you're kind of in the area, you plan to be here for a while, definitely look at what your options are. And again, I think every little benefit, every little incentive that we can provide to the community for affordable housing, it's something that we should look at and explore. And I want to just share too. I talked about how at the beginning of the stat of the week, how the market, a lot of new construction homes. The gap is kind of tightening on pricing on the townhomes and condos. What I really just can't emphasize enough is just how healthy the South Central Virginia housing market is. I mean, when I look at the national home prices right now at $420,000 for a single family home, that's the median sales price in the United States, $420,000. And I look at Lynchburg, Virginia, greater Lynchburg, Virginia's prices. So if I look at Lynchburg and three touching counties, that price is right at $319 today for the median sales price. It's $100,000 less. And we are just in a market that's just got nowhere to go but up, because we're in a global economy, and we're in a market where the housing prices in South Central Virginia, this is a stable economy. We're not dependent on one industry or one certain company for all the jobs or all the income, like some oil fields in Texas, or, we've seen different localities that were all dependent on one. Detroit's a prime example. It was all built on the, on the auto industry. And of course that all fell apart in the, in the 90s, 80s and 90s and going into 2000s. And so we're not that type of economy here in South Central Virginia. We're very diverse. It's very stable. It's our median averages, our median wages don't quite match what the national median wages are, but proportionately, housing is affordable here. And as I look at what's happening demographically, there's just more and more people moving into this area, and that's continuing to push the prices higher. So if you're thinking about buying a home and you're renting, again, I just encourage you, make this the last lease you ever sign. Get into a home, start building your equity, start building your net worth a little bit more rapidly than you would as a tenant, and enjoy the benefits of home ownership as we move into 2026, the summer of 2026.
It's time for Carl Miller Realty's Fun Fact of the Week.
Walkable neighborhoods are increasingly popular. More buyers are looking for communities close to shops, restaurants, parks, and everyday conveniences. Finding the right home is important, but finding the right neighborhood can make all the difference, especially if you want a pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. We can help you. We can help you find both. It's interesting to me as I travel around the country how many subdivisions are just built with the walkability factor in mind, and Lynchburg with its newer communities are going that direction as well. And it is something that consumers are looking for as they're buying homes. If you have real estate questions you want answered, contact us, hit our social media platforms, or give me a call. I want to thank our sponsor, Gary's Garden Center, and thank you, Gary, for coming in and visiting with us the first half of the show. Hey, we all know the importance of curb appeal, but many of us overcomplicated it. Gary's Garden Center, they've got hanging baskets, large pots of flowers, and other things that will instantly add a bright, welcoming feel to any home or business. If you're not sure what to get, the team at Gary's Garden Center is always happy to point you in the right direction. Hey, thanks for listening today. We are your local, caring, competent, trusted advisors for real estate sales. You can reach out today for any of your real estate needs, and we will take great care of you. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we will see you next week.